generally people don't support arts and culture that much. But now it's changing, the society is evolving, and that's a very positive change which we all have witnessed over the years. And what I usually have seen is that, when you're passionate enough to do something and you are determined enough, you give your way. And along with studies and everything, I made all the parents and the crowd understand that this is something which each and every child in our nation needs. That if you become a nerd, it will not help you in the long run.
Yes.
You need to be multifaceted, multi-talented,
Very
because
so.
that is what the need of the hour is. In our country, the biggest problem is people want to play safe.
Right.
And if you really want to achieve something, you need to come out of your comfort zone and, give your best shot. That is something which Indians still need to understand, with due respect to all the viewers who are watching our podcast. And nature is smart, till the time you overcome your, like whatever you have been through, and you don't break your negative patterns, it will keep repeating the same kind of patterns
The
situations in life. So nature is the nurturer, but it is going to destroy you if you are not understanding what you are supposed to understand. If you are not learning anything, if you are not earning anything, then definitely nature is going to make you suffer all over again. And I always tell everybody that this world is a university wherein we have come to learn something. So if we are not able to learn anything, we think that everything we are doing is right, we don't need to improve anywhere, there is no scope of self-improvement, your life would end. Even if you live for 100 more years, you just will be functioning as a vegetable, nothing else. You need to meditate, because when you meditate, your third eye gets activated. You will have the wisdom, courage and faith to take the correct decision, because you will be tuning into your divine connection. Your intuitive ability will become stronger. So tell me and give me an example of a person whose intuition is 100 on 100 and he makes mistakes. So you need to do that. That's my question to all of you, that you want to change your destiny, all right, you can do it. You want to manifest, anyone can. All of us are equally important to the Almighty. Equally blessed we are, we are all at equally disadvantaged position. Okay, so somebody will start their journey in 50 meters, some will be there in the 100 meter zone, but everyone is having some of the other disadvantage. But the thing is, are you determined enough? There is a very thin line between the decision you make, the choices you are given, and the purpose of your soul. That's why I want all the viewers who are watching our podcast and everyone in the world, you should know your soul journey. For knowing your soul journey, you need to meditate, because our soul needs food, like our body and mind. Like all of us, we need food to eat. In the same way, our soul also needs some kind of a food to eat. That food of our soul is what spirituality gives us. There is a very beautiful quote, which is what I go by. Devotion to duty. Understand this very well. Devotion to duty is not sacrifice. It is the justification for your existence on this planet. So if you're doing something which you like and you have to make sacrifices in order to, cater to your dreams, don't make a huge thing out of it, because you're doing it to make yourself peaceful. You're not doing it for others.
Hi everyone, this is Vivek Srivastav. Welcome to my channel. And today we have for you a very special guest episode. We have Rinhee Suberwal with us. And Rinhee is an astrologer, a healer, a numerologist, a past life regression therapist, and a Vastu expert. She's also a very amazing dance choreographer, and she has partnered with Prabhudeva, and she's a member of the India Films and Television Choreographer Association. She is also the founder of Rinhee Dance Studio, and she has won multiple awards. She is also a gold medalist in economics and has a doctorate in arts and education. So, wow, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the lovely introduction. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, so tell me how you first got into all of this, I'm guessing you maybe started with dance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So basically, I hail from an artistic background, and my grandma was the Padma Shri nominee in the year 2024. She's a singer in the West Bengal film industry, and my mum is also a singer. My masi is an actor, and I started dancing when I was 2 years of age. So naturally, it was in the DNA. So I pursued this career. It wasn't so easy though, because in India you have competition in almost everything and anything. So to prove yourself, especially being a female in our country, is very difficult, because if you are, even if you have the best of abilities and you are doing well in your life, still you would be judged. You won't be supported that much. I was fortunate enough to get that support from my family, but generally people don't support arts and culture that much. But now it's changing. The society is evolving.
Right.
And that's a very positive change which we all have witnessed over the years. And what I usually have seen is that when you're passionate enough to do something and you are determined enough, you get your way. So that's what the journey has been, and so good so far. So that's the thing.
So, but did you decide to start off being an entrepreneur, just instead of doing a regular job, to dance as a career, as a business almost, I could say?
Sir, the kind of nature I have, I can't work under anybody for a very long time. So that's a typical characteristic or prerequisite of being an entrepreneur, because you need to have your own space. So that's there in the family, because my grandfather was a businessman, and he gave us such values that you are supposed to do something wherein you are able to help others, you are able to run their families, you are able to contribute to the society and the nation. So nothing can be better than being an entrepreneur. That has been my journey so far.
Absolutely, but some people are meant for the 9 to 5 kind of normal jobs, and some people, of course, entrepreneurs. So when did you realize that
I realized it quite early, sir, because the kind of nature I have, I always was like, I don't appreciate much of interference, in the sense that an artist especially wants space.
Right.
Where we all are very moody, because we
Yes.
have our mood swings, and that goes on forever. So like when you're working with somebody, you need to be very compassionate to the other person, to your workers, to people. That's fine, because and you are convinced that you are at a position wherein you are leading people. But when a person like me was being led by somebody, I was not able to do very well in that. So that kind of made me realize that I am born to be an entrepreneur. But some people, realize it much later. Like my husband was in Merchant Navy, and after years of his struggle in the field, he realized that he's a very good choreographer. He's a very good healer himself. So, that is what he always keeps telling me, that you're fortunate enough to realize that you're meant for this particular thing. And some people, take ages to realize that.
So what was your first entrepreneurship venture? Was it in the world of dance, or was it some of these other
It was in the world of dance, sir.
Yeah.
It was in the world of dance, because, I always wanted to be an actor. I always wanted to face the camera. But unfortunately, or you can say that every individual has their own time, so certain things weren't working out for me. I mean, I was giving my best shot, but even after then, nothing was coming my way. So what happens is, as we know that necessity is the mother of invention. So what happened with me exactly was that I am that kind of an individual. I never give up in life. And I'm a go-getter. So I was like, okay, if it's not having this way, so fame can come in various ways, many different ways. So what I did is, for a brief period of time, I became an assistant director, and I started, doing ad films with directors and everything. And after,
when you said do ad films, what were you participating, or were you directing them?
I was assisting.
Assisting, yani ki producer.
Producer, director. I was with the director. So I started doing art commercials for people like Hema Malini ji and Sharad Kelkar and all these people. So they saw that potential in me, that you are not somebody who is supposed to do things behind the camera. Either you perform or do something pertaining to this industry. So that is when I realized that, I have to be a performer because that was my creator, that I always wanted to be a performer. And when I was behind the camera, I was not able to function that well. I was like, I used to feel, stuck and low that, this is not meant for me and why am I doing this? So, in the process, you ultimately realize that, you're supposed to go ahead and do something pertaining to arts and culture. So, what basically happened is, that's when I thought of opening my own academy. And in a span of 3 months, I had almost 150 students. So that, initiated my journey.
How did you get to those 150 students? Because, typically in the beginning, getting customers is tough, right?
Absolutely.
Usually. So, could you tell us how that happened?
So, first of all, I was very relevant in the sense that I could understand, I could smell what Indians want.
Right.
Sorry to say this, it is pretty objectionable and some people might, not like the way I'm putting it across. But the thing is that, what happens is that if you want to do, if you're passionate about something, as I mentioned, that you get your way. And I was always wanting to know more about how we function as Indians. And I could understand that in India, you have to capture people's emotion. So if you tell them, if you art is culture and it's divine and it is true that, if you are an artist, you are connected to the divine all the time. So when, you're always connected to the divine.
Yes.
You are intuitive enough. You perform well. You are in front of the people. So that I also made them understand that, your confidence will keep growing. You will be groomed as an individual. And that is something which they were, getting hooked upon. That, okay, this is something which really makes a difference. And along with studies and everything, I made all the parents and the crowd understand that this is something which each and every child in our nation needs. That if you become a nerd, it will not help you in the long run.
Yes.
You need to be multifaceted, multi-talented, because
so.
That is what the need of the hour is. So I understood this in the very beginning, and that's the way I started marketing. I started picking up in social media, and I had my marketing team. I hired so many teams to function well, and they made us reach our goal faster.
But I'm guessing in those days, social media wasn't as big as it is today.
Yeah.
So what was the way to spread the word? How did you spread kind of the word?
I guess, if you keep working hard, you don't have
So
a
word of
specific
mouth.
answer to that. Word of mouth.
So not like newspapers or magazine or
we used to
radio,
distribute
TV,
pamphlets.
pamphlets.
So that used to work a lot. But now it's no more relevant.
Obviously,
because,
now to Insta.
Yeah, but that time we used to do it, and then suppose if we are getting some wedding choreography or wedding sangeet,
Right.
so that's a very big way to,
Yeah.
get in front of a huge crowd. Then we used to conduct workshops. And now, when I got associated with Prabhudeva in the year 2012, so what used to happen is we used to provide them diploma courses. That is something which is not there in all the academies in India. So that became a USP. So people used to come that if they're learning, so they might as well have a certificate or some certification course, because that is one thing which sells in India like anything. Because education, any kind of education, if you're imparting any kind of knowledge, that always gets sold out. So that is what I say.
Yes, education, you cannot fail in that business.
Yeah, you can never fail in that business.
I had a question specific to dance, because I've had experience of that in the US, and it's, when I came back to India for a visit and I wanted to do some dance just so that I didn't get out of touch,
Yeah.
Because if you don't dance for a while, you lose
It
the
becomes
skill.
difficult, yeah.
Yeah, you lose your skill a little bit. So I was shocked because they were treating it like a course, like wherever I went, photo ID, there's a total, 6 months,
Yeah.
6 week long
Absolutely.
course, and you can't and in America, you just show up.
Yeah.
Give them $10, dance. Whether you dance properly or not is another story, but it's basically like a workout. You have your workout, go home.
Yeah.
There's all these formalities in there, but I was just, shocked and sort of this thing with the formality here. So why is it like that here, and why we don't have that kind of informal style?
So the way we have been brought up, like the process of socialization in our country is completely different. We need to understand that this is a developing nation. And when it is to do with employment and what my child will do, how will my child sustain in future,
Right.
if you belong to a well-to-do family, then you can experiment. It gives you a chance to experiment. But when you are from a very, lower middle class family
Right.
or middle class backgrounds, then, they want to secure themselves.
To put it in business terms, the risk appetite is low.
Yeah, absolutely,
So-
absolutely.
No, but fine. But they could have just allowed the little flexibility. It was not so much that as a rigidity in thinking.
Yeah,
Because I tried to explain to this one female who was the owner of the studio, whatever, I just want to work out, and I just let me show up and let me stand at the back of the room and you get a workout. And she just couldn't comprehend. She was just like, if you come in the middle, how you will do the choreography? You haven't taken the previous choreography. I don't care. I just want to work out.
yeah.
I don't want to dance perfectly. So that I couldn't get her to understand that thinking was so rigid
Yeah.
in her mind.
And so the perception needs to change because you cannot block an artist. That artist needs to be left free. Only then your art will be reaching some other level. Otherwise you will get stuck, and then you will not be able to understand why am I not able to perform, why there are so many restrictions. Because if you are an art lover and if you are performing and if your whole thing is about performing arts, you need to be free.
Because the thing also is she could have got more business. Like she could have got my business,
Absolutely.
and it wouldn't have hurt her. So the I would argue that the rigidity of thinking is hurting the business, like possibly.
So what I feel in our country, the biggest problem is people want to play safe.
Right.
And if you really want to achieve something, you need to come out of your comfort zone and give your best shot. That is something which Indians still need to understand with due respect to all the viewers who are watching our podcast.
They could do it like, okay, I have my safe sort of business, and then I can have, like, for example, in the case of the dance, okay, you have your academy style,
Yes.
this thing, but then you can have one class that is,
Yeah.
and how much of a risk is one class in a week, right?
No,
So,
yeah.
but that thinking was not there.
Yeah. I mean, creativity needs to be more.
One thing my two cents on it is, we're the worst in terms of thinking out of the box.
Absolutely.
And our education system does that.
Yeah,
It trains us to not think out of the box.
That's what I'm telling
And
you.
Americans are the opposite. They're the best thinkers out of the box.
Absolutely. And
And
we are the most talented. That is what I feel. Indians are the most talented because art and culture comes to us, very easily. But the way we perceive it needs to change. In the sense that if you really want to excel in something, you need to just experiment a lot with it. That, if you are keeping everyone so rigid that you are supposed to get up in the morning at 5, you are supposed to do this, that's discipline. But people get confused between what is discipline and what is rigidity. They don't understand that. So that is what I feel. That's the reason we lag behind.
absolutely. Anyway, so you did your dance academy.
Yeah.
And so tell us what happened next. How did you get into all the rest of this stuff?
One thing leads to the other, sir. And as you know, that Indians have to do a lot with networking. Nowadays, everyone is into networking. But what I feel is that when you meet people from different spheres of life, your perspective, your horizon becomes broadened, and at the same time you are like that, okay, I can do this as well. And I always believed in having multiple sources of income.
Yes.
So that is very important because that I understood when we were in the COVID phase. Because if you are doing only one kind of a business, and if that goes for a toss, then you are having nothing.
Right.
And if you are having multiple ventures, then at least if one is not able to do well, the other will.
But it could be argued then that, jack of all trades, master of none
Master
kind
of
of, or to put it another way, if you focus on one thing, then you do really, really well in that one thing,
yeah.
as opposed to if you're too spread out, maybe
Yeah.
you won't do well.
So there is no hard and fast rule in the
Right,
sense,
obviously.
that some people are very good at multitasking, some people are not. So it depends on what suits you. What is meant for you. It's that way. And then I got into astrology, occult, and all these things.
So tell us about that. How do you get into it? Because I myself also,
Yeah.
it all started with me with the SYDA.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard of that Swami Muktanand.
Yes.
He passed away, and then Chitvila Sanand, the lady
Yeah,
who was
yeah.
took over from him and all.
Yeah.
And then I got Shaktipat and all that. So I also have a spiritual journey that I
Okay.
made and all. So did you have something similar? Like,
Always, I used to get premonitions, sir. And in my family lineage, it's like that. My mother gets it, my Masi gets it, my grandmom gets it. So it's in the family. So when I started realizing this potential of mine, and I started getting trained in it by my guru, Mr. Mandar Amonkar. He's the right hand of Shri Ravi Shankar. So he taught me many things pertaining to occult, in the sense that this is astrology, this is vastu, this is numerology, this is how you become a paranormal expert. So many things. So I guess I'm very good at learning things and very good at grasping things. So it was very easy and interesting for me. Something which is beyond is always very interesting, to get into, because if certain things are not happening in your life, why it's not happening? Certain things are happening in your life, why they are happening. So this is one thing which actually helped me to get into occult. And I have that thing in my mind that I should have answers to all my questions. And all of us are like that, but only few will acknowledge that. And very few will ask questions that, why this is happening with me, or why am I not getting what I want to. So, in that process, you get into spiritual awakening. And that is what makes you realize that this is what your purpose is, and this is what you're meant for, and this is something which you're not supposed to do. So when you want to have answers to all these questions, what can be better than astrology? That is what I feel.
Right. So what was the beginning? Like, in terms of, you already answered that you were getting premonitions, but then when did you decide that you were going to do this much more sort of seriously, maybe make a career out of it?
So never thought of making my career out of it, because earlier I was helping people without taking any energy exchange. I used to go to some family, and then they would suddenly turn up to me and tell me that, I'm going through a tough situation in my life, a tough phase in my life. Well, how am I supposed to get out of it? What am I supposed to do to make my situation better? And all of us go through such phases. So my thing is that what I was doing is I used to give them solutions. That, now do Hanuman Chalisa, or you do Shiv Chalisa, or you do Shiv Bhakti or Hanuman Bhakti. And I used to give them Lal Kitab remedies. There are certain remedial measures which we are supposed to do to pacify certain planets. So that started helping people.
I had a question about that. I've heard this Lal Kitab. Why is it called Lal Kitab? Obviously, I guess the color of the book is red. But what's the story behind it? If you know?
Obviously, the color of the book is red. That's why it is known as Lal Kitab. But Lal Kitab is written in Urdu.
Right.
And there were certain Rishi Munis, they were trying to find out that how can we pacify planets. Now in today's age, like Kali Yuga is known as latter day of the law in English, latter day of the law. Okay, it is known as latter day of the law in Nichiren Buddhism as well. Okay, so now in today's day and age, how many of us will actually sit down to meditate for 2.5 hours? How many of us will actually sit down to meditate for 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours? Earlier they used to do it. In Satyuga, each person, each soul was in peace. Why? Because they were under gurus. There was a Guru Shishya Parampara. But nowadays that's diminishing. That's not there anywhere.
Now it's only fancy.
Now it's only fancy. So now what happens is that when people realize that certain things are not good. We are into dark energies all the time, and we are becoming pessimistic about our life. We are giving up easily. We are not holding on to relationships. We are not functioning properly as individuals. That is when you actually realize that kuch to gadbad hai. So in order to find that out, what started happening is that I started helping people. They said that you're very good at it, and then certain families, they took Lal Kitab remedies through me, and I told them that if you want to pacify sun, you're supposed to give Surya Arg to sun when you get up in the morning. If you want to make sure that your Saturn is giving you rewards, you're supposed to help people who are underprivileged, and you're supposed to donate, might be some clothes or shoes to a particular person on a Saturday. So that kind of started working for me and working for them as well. So that actually pushed me more into occult, that if people are getting help by any talent or art of mine, It's good for me, it's good for them, it's good for the entire society and the universe.
How did you learn all this stuff? Just hearing you speak for the last couple of minutes, it's like, wow, she knows about this, about that, all these things. So,
Thank you so
but where did you learn all this? You mentioned that your uncle who's with
Yeah.
Sri Ravi Shankar.
Yeah, he's my guru.
He
Yeah.
taught you also. But I guess were the books you read and whatnot, all that?
Like as you introduced me that I'm a gold medalist in economics. So let me put it this way, that certain things in my life were not going the way I wanted them to. Proceed. And I wanted myself to be an actor. I couldn't become an actor. So that was kind of upsetting for me. And I was like, what have I done so wrong that I'm not able to get a chance wherein the entire family is, into the field. So when you want to know the reasons behind it, you get deeper and deeper into it. So now what happened is that when, my Guruji kept telling me that, Rinhee, see, I think that, you're good at it. Why don't you learn more things about occult? So I was like, do you think that I will be able to do it? So then he said that, the permutation combination in a horoscope are such that if you help somebody, that person's life would become better. So that is what actually, made me understand that, okay, I might be good in it. And then he made me, meet people who were very good at it, gurus and acharyas and so many people. And then he made me understand that I think that this is something you really need to do. This is your calling. This is your true calling. So that is where I was introduced to the field, and that is how I introduced many more people to occult.
Interestingly, I also, now I was in the US when my awakening, if you will, happened. So because I was there, it was kind of interesting because first of all, I didn't have access to gurus and all that.
No.
It was me all alone, but they would have these bookstores that were just for spiritual thing. So I'd go there and I'd get books, and so I was interestingly exposed to all different stuff. Like you were probably the Indian occultism.
Western astrology.
I was like, I read books on Taoism.
Yeah, Taoism,
and various other things, various other philosophies. So I had kind of an international exposure. So it was kind of an interesting time. But yeah, obviously I think the most ancient is the Indian.
Yes, the Vedic astrology. Yeah.
And all of that. One thing I've always found interesting, there's the Vedic astrology, the Indian astrology, and then there's the Western
astrology.
And they're different. So what happened there? Could you maybe tell us about why there's like this difference between the two? How come they're not the same?
Okay, a very interesting question, sir. Not many people know about it and not many people ask about it. So I would like to appreciate that you are bang on, you are to the point, because this is something which people really need to know. The thing is that there are 3 stambhas in Sanatana Dharma. One is Ayurveda, the second is Yoga, the third is astrology, Jyotish. Okay, so now when a child is born, the time, the place, and your date of birth defines what you are going to do in your life. Now, what is it based on? The past births, because we always believe in, like we Hindus and we Sanatanis, we always believe in the fact that we are getting reincarnated all the time, and we have janmas together. That's why I became a past life regression therapist. So it's a entirely different journey altogether. So now, in Western astrology, there is no such formula. In the sense that suppose if a person is born on 14th of October, that's my birthday, so I'm a Libra. So now you are born on 10th of November, so you are a Scorpion. So now certain characteristics would be the same. Okay, but our karmas are not the same. Okay, so Western astrology is more dependent on our date of birth. Whereas the Vedic astrology is dependent more on the time of birth, the place of birth, and the latitude and the longitude. All these things makes a lot of a difference. And in Western astrology, you will also have planets like Uranus, Pluto, and all these planets. Whereas in Vedic astrology, we have Shani, Rahu, Ketu, Chandra, Mangal, and all these things. So that's the major difference.
I think what struck me about what you said is yes, because Western, they don't believe in reincarnation.
No, they don't.
So this whole past life karma is not even a concept for them.
Yeah.
So, and that, I guess, also comes into their astrology.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think, yeah, that's at a philosophical, deeper level, that's the difference.
Yeah.
That they don't look at your past karma, whereas here we
we do consider that.
In fact, that's everything.
Yeah, that's your map. That's your karmic account. So you just go through it and then you understand that, okay, if I'm losing out on something, why am I losing out on it? What have I done to deserve this? So you will know, you will have all the answers.